Going to also stream this to the agent sandbox for those that are in that group, just so they can watch it as well. Give me just 1 second.
Okay.
Share to group. All right, we are live in Facebook now as well. So
awesome. I'm gonna get my screen up here. We'll get it shared and I'll get the PowerPoint pulled up and all that jazz for us. So it's almost like I was prepared earlier. And I was. All right. Okay. I'm excited, guys. So today we're going to be talking about basically the shifting market and the things that are coming up. What changes you need to make. The last couple of years have been, I think, have been a big blessing for everybody. And I am kind of sad to see that come to an end. But I think for those of us that are willing to actually do some work, it's going to be a really, really good thing. So my name is Austin Robertson, and Mike Novak are the ones that are going to be presenting today, going over stuff. So who are we and why would you listen? So Mike and I have different roles inside the Novak team. Mike runs the overall Novak team, and I run the Seattle and South team. So last year, the team did about 250 transactions. Is that right, Mike?
Yeah, about 125 million.
Okay. And I ended up listing 94 properties last year during the height of COVID. So we do have a big group. We have heavy admin. We have a lot of salaried positions, and we have a really, really heavy monthly expense. You know, we're not just one guy who's taking spheres. We've got a lot of salaried positions and things like that. So it's just as hard on us as I think probably anybody. You know, Mike, you can speak to managing that a little bit, but anything else? Like, why would you listen to us?
Yeah. So for those that don't know me, like Austin said, Mike Novak, team leader along with my wife of the Novak team. We're located in Everett, Washington, just north of Seattle. Been in real estate, like I've been involved in real estate since 2003, but I've been an agent since the end of 2016. So we've owned multiple other businesses, including a 7-chain restaurant company, a real estate development company, a building company. Like we've just been involved in all sorts of different businesses over the last 18, 19 years, my wife and I together predominantly. So we've got 3 kids, a 7-year-old who's quite spunky, and an 11 and a 13-year-old. Fitness is a big part of our lifestyle. We go to the gym 5 days a week. We focus on kind of a holistic approach to life that is centered around family, faith, friendships, and fitness, and of course the financial side. So today we're going to get super real. We're going to have some pretty raw conversations with you guys about what we think is coming and what you should be doing right now to prepare yourself and your team and your family to be successful over the next 6 to 12 months. And if I'm totally honest with you guys, nobody has a clue what's happening next year. Like everyone is guessing at this point. I think we can all agree that this winter is going to be really tough. Like we've seen interest rates go up to 7.5%, which is higher than I think most of us thought it would go. And we've also got what I call a massive affordability crisis on our hands. The last time rates were in the 7s, guys, was way back in the year 2000, before 9/11. And at that time, home prices were about a third of what they are now. If I look at 2008, that is the last time interest rates were in the 6s, okay? So 2000 for 7s, 2008 for 6s. In 2008, in our market, the average home price is $400,000. Right now, it's $860,000. So you can see there is a problem that we have on our hands here, and it's going to be a little bit interesting to get through this over the next 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, you know, who knows how long this lasts. Last week, a bunch of us were in Fargo for the Hatch Summit with Eric Hatch and with Robbie T, and Austin was there as well, along with myself and Rachel. And we talked a lot about this. I mean, agents are scared, team leaders are scared, and I think it makes everyone feel a little bit better when we have honest conversations about it, instead of just internalizing this anxiety on what's going to happen. And so that's really the goal today, is to put this front and center, have a candid, honest conversation about it. If you've got questions as we go, I want to encourage you to jump in the chat box, ask us those questions. We're both an open book, and we will share with you just about anything we can that's going to help you get through this. But the biggest thing I want to bring to everyone's attention right now is that your awareness of change and action is the single most important thing that you can do right now. Austin's got this analogy up right now about the bear in the woods. And for those that don't know Ben Kinney was in Fargo as well with us. And Ben is a billionaire with a B, like one of the few self-made billionaires in real estate sales. And Ben also went through 2008. I remember when he went through it because he couldn't even pay his admin staff for a period of time. Like he had to choose between paying his mortgage and paying his assistant. And he ultimately decided to not pay his mortgage and keep paying his assistant to keep going. So he has been through the shit before, just like a lot of us have. And he's also a hunter. And like, that's one of his passions, is to go out and hunt in the woods. And he shared with us, he said, guys, when I'm hunting and I look across the valley and I see this big, nasty, gnarly grizzly bear that could kill me, I see it through my binoculars and I have time to react and move before that bear comes towards me and tries to kill me. And if I'm not looking through those binoculars, if I'm not looking around, if I'm not consciously aware of what's happening around me with that bear, I will wake up one morning and that bear is going to be eating me in my tent. And that's the best analogy we can give you guys today. That is the market. The market is the grizzly bear, guys. And it's coming, and it's coming fast to eat you. I don't want to scare you, but I want to make sure that you realize what is in front of you. Because the biggest mistake I see people make is when shit is going to hit the fan, they get paralyzed, they freeze, and they take no action because they don't know what to do. So today, let's figure out a game plan of what you're going to do to get through this.
Yeah, we're not necessarily saying there's going to be like a Game of Thrones style length winter or a 2-week downturn. Like, we don't have a crystal ball just as much as the next guy, but we are seeing that bear on the hill. Like, and the fact that you're on this webinar means that you already are in the right mindset of trying to plan. You're trying to contemplate what to do. You're wondering how to respond. And you're not just sitting on your ass waiting for it to come by and kick you in the teeth. So yeah, our goal today is really just to kind of give you some thinking points. There'll definitely be some action items and things that you can do physically, but a lot of this is really going to come down to your mindset, understanding like why we're in the position that we're in, and creating a game plan to get out of it. So we're going to kind of start at that very first part there with, just kind of taking care of ourselves, right? So I know pretty much anytime Mike and I meet for our one-on-one meetings, we always talk about how things are going in our personal life. And this is going to be something that a lot of people aren't focusing on right now. They're reactionary to what the market is doing, and they're not taking care of themselves. And when you quit taking care of yourselves, you're going to have a really hard time staying afloat. And that really does start with our mental health. Me and Mike both are really big into gratitude and affirmations. When things get tight and things get tough, being grateful for things is super important. And I remember the conversation we had. I was in a spot that was a little rough in my business about 6 months ago. Mike, you were like, hey, start writing down, 3 or 4 things you're grateful for every morning. And within a couple of weeks, I saw a huge change in how I felt about the world around me, because my focus, instead of on the struggle, was then on the things that I was, essentially really grateful for. So if you're not already doing that, that's something you need to be doing. If you were on the last webinar with us, Mike went really kind of deep into gratitude and affirmations. Those are on my YouTube channel. So if you send me a message, I can shoot that over to you. If you have questions about it, drop it down there. The next thing I think really big is like reading. Reading has instilled a lot of confidence in myself, helped me get smarter. 2 subjects that's really helped me with has been emotional intelligence and psychology. And I think the more emotionally intelligent you get when things get hard, you're better at reacting to people because you understand why and how other humans operate. Obviously, so physical training. So I've been a competitive powerlifter in the past. I train pretty much every day. Mike's the size of We're going with wrecking ball, according to the Hatch Conference.
Better than bowling ball, like Rachel called me.
Yeah, why call them a bowling ball? But here's the biggest thing is like those of you that are doing it, like keep doing it. Those of you that aren't, the biggest thing I can tell you is to plan for doing it. That old silly saying of like, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail comes in really big here, because we're going to find that we're getting a lot busier as we're working through this market, as the fish aren't jumping into our boat, as you could say, when you're fishing. So if you're not really being intentional about planning when you're going to go take care of yourself, you're probably going to push it off for something else. As far as like eating, I obviously really love having your food prep for you. My wife, Elena, is like a monster at this. I just went up and met with Mike yesterday, and she was up like 4 a.m., like Tupperwaring all my stuff for me. But with food makes you feel good or bad. I think really having your stuff prepared and ready to go also it has a benefit of reduction in the amount of money that you're going to be spending. If you go out and eat anywhere between Seattle or Everett, you're going to spend $20 a plate, right? Like that's just hell, McDonald's costs that much up here. So if you prep your food, you're going to have a lot better cost savings on your budget, which you should be trying to tighten up anyways. And then also you have it right there with you, accessible, so you're not having to leave the work environment and go eat. Monitoring our sleep, guys, is something also that I think with this change we need to get a lot more serious about. I know Mike and Rachel use the Whoop tool, which I'm not using yet, but I do have my iPhone set to tell me when to go to bed and when to get up. And when that thing goes off, I go to bed and I get up. If we don't know how we're sleeping, we're probably going to feel groggy. We're going to feel like crap. And if we're actually having to work, it's going to be really, really hard. And then the last point here, taking care of yourself. I think it's really important as this market changes, and a lot of you guys aren't going to want to do this one right here. You have to have that hard conversation with your loved ones. Okay. Like if you want to win in this market, you're going to be inconvenienced. You're not, I've taken the last 2 years, I've not worked a single weekend day, like at all, like not shown a house, not on a listing on a Saturday, nothing. And all that's out the window right now. But luckily I sat down with my wife and kids and was like, hey, some things are going to be changing as the market changes. We can't assume that just because someone is in our life and is around us, they understand the real estate market or they understand the efforts that we are having to put in when these changes occur. They've also had it really easy where you've been crushing it and you've been at home a lot more, and they've gotten very comfortable with that. And now just because you see the bear on the hill doesn't mean they will, because they're not looking out for it. Mike, what do you have on any of these things? I'm sure you got stuff to add.
Well, I'm a storyteller. So in 2008, when shit hit the fan, I personally lost $7 million in about 4 weeks. It was a really, really tough week and month. I will never forget when Lehman Brothers went bankrupt on Sunday and the markets froze over Monday morning, and you could no longer refinance anything. I had about 28 construction projects going on at the time, and most of the banks that lent us money ultimately got closed by the FDIC. It was a super dark time. And instead of doing these things, I self-destructed. Like I leaned into alcohol big time. At one point, I drank an entire fifth of gin in one night and a half bottle of vodka because I wanted to numb the pain and forget about what was going on. It sucked that bad. And this time I'm in a different place. You know what I mean? These are the things that will get you through in such a better way. It took me like 3 or 4 months to come to grips with what was happening in 2008. And if you just lean into these habits, getting the sleep, cutting back on the alcohol, eating the right foods, and moving your body and doing those little things that are going to work in your mindset, like affirmations and gratitudes, you are going to be centered in the right place and you're going to be properly focused to push through this. So it's tempting to, lean into those vices, but they ultimately are going to just self-destruct you like they did to me.
So what did you do differently? What are you doing differently at this place in your life than you were doing in 2008 that helped you to lean into the more positive things?
I worked out a lot then, but not like I do today. Like I would maybe go for, sounds funny since I'm 290 pounds now. I used to go for a jog 3 or 4 times a week. and now I'll go to the gym 5 days a week and throw some iron around. I call it iron therapy. I work out to feel good, first of all, and have my mind in the right place, and secondary for the physical effects, if that makes sense. That's a big one. I eat correctly now. Like, I eat to fuel my body and my movement. I don't eat just whatever is convenient. Like you, Austin, I prep a lot of my own food. I do it usually the night before, so I'm not left to just grab shit when I get hungry the next day and my blood sugar's all over the place. So it's just these little habits done consistently over time will provide you a very stable foundation to push through what is about to come. Because focus is maybe one of the biggest things that's going to help you get through the next 6 months. And if you're not focused because you don't feel good, that's going to be a big problem for you.
Yeah, I agree. And having all the stuff in line is going to help you stay focused.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So Mike, you did such a good job. We met yesterday and you really dove in with a lot of the team on really how we got here.
Yeah.
And so I'd actually, if you wouldn't mind, I'd like you kind of tell that story here. I think there are a lot of people who are a little confused and they don't understand the background of how we actually got here. It's hard to move forward.
Yeah, I explained this in our huddle yesterday to our team, because we've got 7 showing partners on our team who have only seen the market for the last 2 years. Like, they're new to real estate and they don't understand necessarily what's going on, or more importantly, how we got here. And it's important to understand how we got here, because it might provide some clarity to how we're gonna get out of this. So if you go back to 2008, when everything crashed, inventory went through the roof. We had like an 18-month inventory supply at one point in 2010 and 11, because so many homes have been foreclosed on from the toxic mortgage lending that happened. The feds then massively corrected, and they made money very cheap, like almost free. That's when we started seeing 3 and 4% interest rates, after the recession, and they were trying to stimulate the housing market and get people buying homes again. That continued for a very, very long period of time, debatably maybe too long. Like, maybe they should have adjusted that at some point, but really cheap money was a thing, a real thing from 2011 all the way through really the beginning of this year. January 1st of this year, guys, we had a 2.75% interest rate from our primary lender here in our market. That is now 7.5%. So it's changed very, very fast. So the recovery from the Great Recession is part of it. That made everyone get this kind of fake sense of what money actually costs, because 3 to 4% money is not realistic. 5 to 6% and even low 7% that's more of a sign of a stable, healthy, balanced economy where currency is not being devalued. But then this crazy thing called COVID happened in 2020, and the government was scared shitless, just like the rest of us were. And they thought that the world could literally come to an end, like our economy could completely crash. And they started dumping trillions of dollars into our economy. If you guys remember the PPP loans, I have multiple real estate team leader friends that got 7-figure forgivable loans just to help their teams get through 2020. And there was a lot of businesses that got those. Restaurants got those. I mean, retail got them. A lot of people that really needed it got them. But for those of us in real estate, 2020 was actually a pretty good year. Like, it didn't hit us like we thought it would, in 2020. It ended up being a much stronger year than I think a lot of us imagined. We thought things were going to come to, basically just come to a screeching halt. And in fact, it ended up being a tremendously successful year. But they put so much money into the economy that they have devalued the currency now, and you see inflation going through the roof. We've got 9% annualized inflation right now, which is a huge problem. And that is why the Fed has started raising the cost of borrowing. So until inflation drops to the 3-4% range, you're probably not going to see interest rates start to drop. And we have no idea when this inflation is going to actually get reined in. And people are feeling this everywhere, guys. Like, if you go to the grocery store, go look at a pound of ground beef, go look at a gallon of gas. People's paychecks they're disappearing quick in just their everyday expenses. And that is the inflation that is happening right now. It's also showing up in the rental market. Rents are going up astronomically high. Like in our market right here, it's about $3,000 to go rent a 3-bedroom house minimum. I mean, Austin, you rent a place, and how much do you spend a month on that place? $3,500?
35.
And it's a little posh, but still, like that's kind of what you can expect in our market, So that's what got us here. And the thing that's going to get us out of this is reining in that inflation. And in my opinion, to some degree, also getting control of oil prices. Like, gas has to go down to help fix this problem. The cost of fuel affects everything. It affects food. It affects building materials. If you think about everything that we get is almost all trucked to where it goes. So the cost of fuel will directly impact our economy massively. And until those things get balanced out a little bit, we're in for a pretty rough and tumble winter.
Yeah. And how long will that take? I don't think any of us have really any idea. And I've kind of lost faith in I don't think the Fed has any idea either. So it's something we're just
They don't know.
No, they have no idea.
Yeah, they're guessing just like the rest of us are. I mean, the only thing that we know is there's a lot of emotion in the mortgage market right now. There's a lot of people scared, that's what we know. And we know that it's going to get worse before it gets better. Short of that and beyond that, I don't think anyone really knows.
I had a buyer who looked at a house last week, and then we went back and showed him one day before yesterday, and we ran the numbers to write an offer. Our pre-approval had dropped by $100,000
Yeah.
in a day. So yeah, the mortgages are coming to a kind of a rough place. So that's the second part on here is I have the mindset concept of what we're getting into. And Mike, one of the things you talked about in Fargo was getting into like a wartime mindset. And I never personally was in the military, but I'm a retired firefighter and paramedic. And I can tell you there's a big difference from sitting in the firehouse, you're having coffee, even training, and then those alarm bells go off. And everyone's mind shifts. This insane level of discipline, focus, just you become the best version of yourself when those lights come on and those alarms drop. And we really have got to get ourselves to the point where we are acting like that's the case. I mean, I feel like we've gotten to just be the guy who's putting his feet up in their recliner watching the Seahawks games, the firehouse. And now we're getting called out to go to a giant burning building, right?
Right. We were in Park City at the Hatch Mastermind with about 30 other top teams. And Eric Hatch, who's my personal coach, he gave a great presentation on this. And he saw this coming before a lot of people did. And the title of his presentation was Wartime versus Peacetime CEO. And if you guys go Google Ben Horowitz, HOROWITZ, he is the guy that kind of wrote the book on this concept. But how you lead both yourself and your people in a period of chaos is very different than during peacetime. And if you guys look at the last 5 years, we've been at peacetime for quite a while. And that conscious shift that we're now going into a wartime mindset is pivotal for you to wrap your head around. If you do that, you're going to shift everything you're doing. Your mindset's going to change. Your actions are going to double down. Your discipline's going to go to the next level, and you're going to get through this. But you have to consciously shift from that peacetime mentality to full-on fucking war, because that's where we're going right now.
Yep, 100%. Here's the second point I really want to touch on, which was allow yourself to be inconvenienced. And I kind of mentioned this at the beginning a little bit, but I know when I started off in real estate, it wasn't in the middle of COVID, and I wasn't dunking on a little tyke soup and thinking I was LeBron James, like Robbie T always says. I was working my ass off. I would actually get off work at the firehouse at 7. I would go home and change, and I was on the phone by about 8:30. And I worked expireds for sell by owners. I circle dialed. I was on social media every day. I was at appointments every afternoon, and I worked myself to what I felt like was to death. And the only reason I really feel like that is because the last 2 years has allowed me to be so chill, take more time to relax. Like I said, I haven't worked on the weekends in a long time. And as this market shifts, our mindset has to follow along and remember that the success that you got before COVID came was because you were putting in work. Like that can't be understated. The work that you're putting in is where you're going to win at. The fish aren't going to jump into your boat anymore at this point. Everything is now allowing yourself. And this is what I talk about with the family. Get back to talking to your families and let them know that you're going to have to put in some longer hours, that you might have to go show a house on a Saturday when you want to watch the, NCAA football game instead. Like you're going to have to start allowing yourself to be a little inconvenienced.
Right. There's seasons to life. And the last season that we're just coming out of was a season where you had some luxuries, you had some time, you had some freedom, and you were still able to do a lot of transactions because, like Austin said, the fish were jumping in your boat. But right now, you've got to go back to learning how to fish, and you got to fish a lot. And that means changing gears and being consciously aware that the season has changed. This is a completely different season than it was even 6 or 8 months ago. And this is the season to double down on work, on intensity, and on habits.
Yeah, 100%. And you'll see people around you. This last one, believe that you have this. You're going to see people around you. They're going to go into like a pit of despair. They're going to feel like the whole world's collapsing and around. I've had a few conversations like that already, Mike. I'm sure you probably have talked to people that are feeling that way as well. But believing that you've got it through this change is going to carry you a lot further than pretty much anything. One of our lenders yesterday on a huddle mentioned something about lenders getting out of the business and the opportunity that would provide him because there would be less competition inside the marketplace. Now, I've also talked to lenders who are panicking because they haven't built any relationships with agents. They've not followed up with their past clients, and they're, the sky's falling for them, but the opportunity is coming for the others. And so, how do you feel like that difference is going to play out for the two of them? Whatever they believe is 100% going to be the truth.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So, Mike, I'm actually going to let you take the lead on this one. These are notes directly from Fargo.
Yeah, this is my jam. So I think that the answer to everything is great leadership. Like if you as a leader show up with a certain level of intensity and preparation, your team is going to feel that from you, and they're going to mirror and match that intensity in what they are doing. So like I said, during peacetime, you can sit back a little bit. You can let your people kind of self-discover solutions to problems. You can let them kind of find their own way and their own footing. But right now in wartime, you have to have your finger on the pulse, and your people have to feel that you have your hand on the wheel and you're going to drive the ship through the storm. If they feel like that boat's just kind of going wherever the wind takes it, that is not going to be a feeling that they're going to be super warm and fuzzy about. So there's a couple of things that you can do. Proximity to your people is going to be the biggest one. You need to be visible. You cannot hide in your office. You need to be in the daily huddles. And you need to be leading transparent conversations. You need to name what we're going through. Don't pretend like it's not happening. That's shit leadership. Name the challenges, name your own fears if you have them. And hey, guys, this is scaring me too. But what I know is that having fear is a healthy thing. And this is like you talking to your team. When I have fear, when I have anxiety, I know that action and preparation are going to help get me through that. Maybe they're going to help our team get through that too. And then share with them what your action plan is. I tell Austin this all the time, and my other leaders in my team, as leaders, it's our job to have contingency plans. We don't wait for shit to hit the fan to decide what to do. We look at what could happen, we develop scenarios, and we have plans for what that could look like. When COVID hit in 2020, I had 3 different options I'd gone over with my leadership team. If this happens, this is what we're going to do. If this happens, that's what we're going to do. And some of these were hard conversations. One of those plans included laying off half our staff and taking the other half down to 50% payroll. And I had to tell them that. I was like, hey, if that happens, that's exactly what we're going to do to push this team through. And they were very hard conversations, but they had to be had. And they had to know that I had a plan to get our team through that, no matter how tough it could be. So proximity is going to be the big one. Making sure people can feel that you are there and in the trenches with them is going to be the other one. Throw on a headset and make some dials. Get back involved in role plays with your people. Show them how to fish if they've forgotten how to, and really lead by example. Those are the things that are going to help you get through this. So I also think sharing your vision is super important. I'm always talking about where we're going over the next 6 to 12 months and where I see our team going over the next 5 years. And guess what? Our vision for the next 5 years has not changed one iota since this stuff has happened. 5 years from now is a long ways from now. So people are really focused on what's the next 6 to 12 months going to look like. But my 5-year vision is still very much intact.
So, Mike, I'm a team leader. I'm super busy. I see here you want me to invest in one-on-ones with key people, but like I don't have time for that, I feel like.
Well, fix your fucking schedule, Austin. Your priorities are a problem.
Right.
Your key people are your biggest priority. It's not leads, it's not clients, it's your key people. So we have 21 people on our team. About 5 of them report to me, and those one-on-ones are non-negotiables. I'm not doing them every week with everybody, but at least once a month, I'm sitting down with my key people and understanding where they're at and pouring into these people, coaching them through adjustments to make personally, and making sure they understand exactly where we're all at too. So that one-on-one time is super, super important. There are coaches out there, some of the top coaches, that tell you this is a waste of time, but you have to do this with your key people. If you haven't read the Pumpkin Plan, he talks about this in the Pumpkin Plan. You have to invest in your big pumpkins, but you cannot invest your time evenly or fairly. I don't invest time with all my 21 people. I invest it with 5 or 6 people, and those are my pumpkins. It's an unfair amount of time that I spend with those people.
I love that. I wanted to hit on that because of what I'm hearing throughout the industry of, you don't need the one-on-one. They're your rock stars. They're already doing what they need to do. Why would you waste, why would you spend time on them? But really, those are the ones that you need to have that connection with, and you need to be pushing them.
You met Chuck. Chuck's been on my team for 5 years now. Chuck is closing in on 60. He's got drastically more life experience than I've got. He's got at least the same amount of business experience. He's been through massive chaos as well. Guess what Chuck still wants?
Time.
He wants the time and the proximity one-on-one. It matters to him.
Yep. I think that's a huge one. And your leaders are going to feel just as shook as anybody else, but they've been carrying a higher load for so long. Like if you look at your agents on your team right now that are doing 10 deals, them dropping down, 70% to 7 doesn't feel that big. But if you're doing 50 or 60, you're dropping down to 25 or 30, you're stressing, you're hurting. So I think having that proximity with those people is going to be really crucial for you.
Right. The first bullet point you put up there too is a mindset shift for most people. A lot of people look at chaos and they say, how am I going to get through this? And that's not the way that I look at this at all. I look at how are we going to absolutely fucking win over the next 2 years? How are we going to take market share? How are we going to take what we plan to do and 10x that shit, knowing that things are up for grabs that were never on the table before? We're in the best hiring market we've had in years, things like that. So we are not looking at this like how are we going to just survive the next 6 months. We're looking at how we're going to win and win big.
So those of you guys that are on here right now, I'd like you to drop in the chat one thing that you're going to do to win big in the market shift. All right, so this is going to be a big section, and this is probably like the most, I think, action-oriented part. So we're going to look at earning your income in a market shift. We're going to look at our buyers, our listings, and recruiting. So, and this goes for everybody. This goes from the newest agent on a team to a team leader. So one of the things that we're already seeing right now with rates that are increasing is that our buyers really don't seem ultra excited. They're kind of laissez-faire about getting out to see houses because rates are climbing. They just feel a little uneasy. And I've seen this. I've got a client right now from the east side of Washington who's trying to move over here. His house closes on October 16th. And I'm like pulling teeth to get him to find a house because he knows he's going to just, get eaten up because of the rates.
And this is a big contrast for most of us because 6 months ago, 7 months ago, buyers felt this enormous pressure to make a decision fast. And they were typically writing on homes the same day that they saw them. Right now, that pressure and that sense of urgency is completely gone. Like, if anything, they're apprehensive. They have anxiety about where things are going, and they're very unsure of buying a house and if right now is the right time. Some people are telling me, hey, I'm going to wait for spring and for prices to drop. And in our market, prices haven't dropped yet. They're still up 7% year over year. We have to remember a couple of things, guys. There are 2 components to the price of a home. The first component is the price you pay. Okay. The second component is your interest rate. Those 2 things drive your monthly payment, what you ultimately pay for the home. What will happen if rates go up another % by next spring? That home is disproportionately more expensive now. You have to be able to articulate and explain that to the buyers. We have no idea if prices are going to drop. They could drop, but we don't know. Eventually, if rates go up high enough, of course they're going to. But when does that happen? No one has a crystal ball. But you have to be articulate to the buyers on the 2 components that drive price on what they're actually paying, because it's not just the purchase price. The interest rate is an absolute variable, and you have to run those scenarios for them. If it went 1% higher, would you be priced out of buying a home? In most cases, the answer is probably yes, with how far they've already gone up. The second thing that you have to educate your people on is 3-2-1 and 2-1 buy downs. And this
Right.
is a product that one of our lenders put out recently. And it's a product that not a lot of agents know about, but you need to know about this because this solves a big problem right now. A 3-2-1 buy down is basically an upfront charge at closing to buy the rate down 3 percentage points for the first year on the mortgage. And then on the second year, it drops 2 points from what the par rate is today. And the third year, it's 1 point lower. So if it's 7.5 today, on year one, they're at 4.5% interest. Year two, they're at 5.5% interest. Year three, they're at 6.5%, and then onward from there, it's at the actual fixed rate that they locked on the prime rate. So this solves a big problem right now because nobody thinks that rates are going to stay in the sevens for forever. We know by looking at history tells us what's happened in the past, what's likely to occur again, that on election years, rates typically are going to go down. It happens all the time. So what if rates drop into the high fours or low fives within the next 8 months to 24 months, then they can refinance and lock in a much lower rate. So you have to have creative solutions like this, and the 3-2-1 buy down and the 2-1 buy down are awesome solutions to that problem. I tell people, I coach my clients on this and I coach my agents on this. You're better off asking for dollars back than dollars off right now. A 3-2-1 buy down is expensive. Like that could be $20,000-$30,000 on our average home price right now. But most sellers are willing to give that because they understand the market they're in right now. And you're going to be better off. You're going to have a much lower payment doing that than getting $30,000 off the house. If that makes sense.
Well, and the other side that I love about the 3-2-1 buy down, Mike, is that a lot of times we're getting the sellers to pay for this. And by the way, guys, pretty much all lenders can do this. They probably just haven't asked their people about it. So get with your preferred lender and have them talk with their teams about how to do this product. A lot of people have it. But the other part about it that I really love, Mike, is like, let's say you do get that 4.5 for year one, and then we roll through election and rates drop, right? And we can refinance to another position. The remaining money that's left in escrow goes back to your client.
Pretty crazy.
So yeah, so like if you've got 40 grand left right there and you refinance, that money's then released back to your client. And if the seller's paid for it in the first place, somebody fall in love with you, give them 40 grand. That's a pretty good way to do it.
Right. And the reason that is because the amount of the difference between, say, the 3% buy down and the par rate is put into the escrow account at closing. Like it's not just taken, right?
Right. Which is pretty wild. And then, I think with these buyers, we kind of talked about the pain points with the higher prices and the higher rates. And this is why it becomes more crucial, I think, than ever to really explain the process and set your expectations clearly with your buyers when you're going out to see homes. And Mike and I both are going to agree on this. We believe that a buyer's consultation is going to be the best way to do that. And the things we talk about in those buyer's consultations change as the market changes. But that is your opportunity to really sit down with people and go over how things are actually going, what they might run into, and set clear expectations for what the future is going to be as they're buying a house. Mike, you basically wrote the book on buyer consultations. So what changes do you see here?
Yeah, well, so I don't see a lot of changes actually, because there's 3 reasons that we do buyer consultations. And I explain these to our ISAs, I explain them to clients, and we're very clear on why we're doing them. The first reason we do a buyer consultation is to walk them through the home buying process from start to finish so they know what to expect. That is super important. Nothing has changed there since 9 months ago. Like the process, you still have to articulate it. That need has not gone away just because the shift has occurred. So setting expectations has not changed. The process is a little bit different because you can do inspections now. You don't have to have super high earnest money. You don't have to cover low appraisals, things like that. But you have to take the time to go through the journey with them to set clear expectations from the start, or you're going to have problems later. Every time I skip that step or that I have in my career, it comes back to bite me in the ass when the client freaks out about something that I should have explained better and sat down with them and gone over. The second thing that we go over in the buyer consultation is the market. I don't want a client telling me what's happening in the market, because what they're going to tell me is what they hear in the news. That is not good. And what they're hearing in the news probably has nothing to do with what's happening in your local market. For us, it's very inaccurate to what's happening locally. And so I have to be a truth teller to these people and educate them on the actual stats of our market. A lot of people will walk into these consultations right now in our market and think, hey, the prices are going down, because that's what they're seeing. They're seeing price reductions occurring. I have to be able to educate them that prices are actually going up still. They're still up 7%. And the reason it feels like prices are going down is because sellers missed the mark on where to list their home, and they're now chasing the market to get actually listed correctly. So that's the second thing, is going over the market. The third one is to do a super deep dive into exactly what you need as a buyer to find a home. Like, do you need 4 bedrooms? Is that a must-have? Do you need half an acre? Is that a must-have? I break them into must-haves and nice-to-haves, and then we talk about location. Those 3 things are why we do consultations, and those 3 things are just as needed today as they were 6-12 months ago.
Yep. And getting really clear on that will just save your ass 10x.
Yes. And then sign them. Don't forget to sign them.
Yeah. Yeah. We sign listing paperwork, sign a buyer's agency agreement. And if you are out, like, let's say you get a call off of Zillow, you get a call off realtor.com, and they want to go see 123 Main Street, go show them 123 Main Street. And then on the, the bed of your truck, have that conversation afterwards. Don't just be a door opener, but get super clear about people you're going to work with, and make sure they're qualified to work with you, and they have clear expectations on what's going to be happening. On the listing side, before COVID, outside of my admin, my biggest expense was actually listings that sat on the market. I would look at the bill and see, photography and retargeting ads and just a ton of stuff for homes that didn't sell. And this was in a normalized, like a normal market. So if things shift the other way more dramatically, you're going to start seeing big teams and solid agents carrying a lot more listings. And I think this will probably be one area where you are going to spend a lot of money if you aren't handling it appropriately, and it's going to cost you. So my biggest
oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I'll say my biggest thing right now is, like, you've got to start taking listings seriously. These guys that are like, if I can get 950, I'll list. No, you're not a motivated listing. And I know I've dealt with that a lot recently. And Mike, I know your wife Rachel, we've had conversations about people that operate the same way, and those just aren't the listings that we're going to want to be taking anymore. We're just not going to be paying for that.
No, you need to be working with buyers and sellers that need to make a move. It's not that they want to make a move. Nobody at 7.5% interest rates wants to make a move. It's that they need to make a move. And you have to be super clear and understand their reasoning for it. If you understand that and you feel like they're going to be coachable and listen to your guidance and price their home correctly, then by all means take the listings. But if you are used to having 2 or 3 listings at a time as an agent and they were selling right away, that is a very different scenario than having 6, 7, 8 listings that are now taking you 90 days to close and sell. What if you invest $2,000 to $3,000 per listing between all of your costs? You now have $25,000 to $30,000 just sitting out there that you're not getting paid back for an extended period of time. I call this the cash conversion cycle. How long does it take me when I put my money out to get it back plus my return on that investment? The same thing is true with leads. If I put $1 out on Zillow, how long does it take for me to get that dollar back in the commission? And so you have to be very cautious about your cash conversion cycle as you're pouring money into your listings. It's just your money that's sitting there.
Yeah, you're going to spend money to list houses. And there are, again, we look at a lot of these real estate coaches in the industry, they'll keep telling you, like, hey, a sign in the yard is better than a sign in your car. And I don't believe that right now. No. Like, be intentional, be with people that need to do business. Did they get married? Did somebody die? Are they having a baby? Are they moving for work? Do they have real motivation? We've got to get to the bottom of real motivation. Otherwise, you're going to start hemorrhaging money. You're going to feel cool because you have so many listings, but it's not going to reflect in the pocketbook. And where pricing matters is getting super honest about the market. One big change that Mike's wife taught me was, as opposed to going out to a listing appointment and saying, hey, I think the house is worth $875, but then when we go back to list it a month from now, right, the market's moved. So we started making a change at these appointments where we are giving a price range. So, hey, we're somewhere between $830 and $870. And then we reevaluate those things together as a team when we get close to live date, so that we're giving people accurate information. The next thing is, I think price reductions are something you're going to have to get hungry about. And as an industry, we're a little timid about asking for price reductions. I think it's really funny because our job is to advocate for our clients, but we don't want to advocate for them when we think it's going to hurt their feelings. Monday, I sat down with my partner and I said, give me price reductions on everything. And the response was, of course, well, how much? I said, I don't care. Just get price reductions on everything. And we're going to start seeing that become more and more of a trend as this market goes. If we have serious sellers and their homes are sitting, we're going to have those hard talks.
Yep. On the price reduction side of things, I like to set kind of a guideline for our clients on how many showings per week to get. And if we're not within that margin of error, we have a pricing problem, because we know our marketing is super strong. It's going to look good online. It's going to be all over the place. But if you have less than a certain amount of showings, to me, that's like the barometer that you have a pricing issue. And that number of showings really depends on the location you have and the price point. So it's very different from market to market. And our like average price point here in Snohomish County, and like a decent location, if it's priced right, we will see 2 to 3 showings a week. Minimum, even in the current market, to know that it's been priced correctly. And in our current market, it takes about 20 showings to trigger one sale.
And Mike, in a normalized or a shifting market, and your marketing is beautiful, can you outmarket the wrong price?
I always tell people you cannot outmarket the wrong price.
So whenever you're talking to your clients, I hear a lot of people say like, hey, it's either the marketing or it's the price. No, right now it's the price.
Well, but you have to make your case. So you must have transparency into your efforts. You have to be able to go to your sellers every week and show them what you did the previous week to get their home in front of more people. Did you follow up with the people that showed the house? You better have that feedback for them. Can you show them a digital report of how many times their home was viewed on different sites and what that looked like? Can you show them the Facebook ads and video ads that you're running for them through Ylopo or through Sierra or whatever you're using to get their home actually in front of people? You must show them you're doing more than just passively sitting there waiting for a buyer to come along.
Yeah, if you don't communicate, they'll feel like you're doing nothing.
Right.
Especially right now. All right, then the third thing for earning your income is recruiting. Another one of the great things that we heard Ben Kinney say was, if you believe the market will dip 30%, you should add 30%. And I thought that was a really interesting take, obviously from a team leader perspective. But the thing with recruiting right now is it's not just the team leaders, it's also those of us who are on a team that need to be looking out for it. And with our mindset, it's not going to take away from you. All right. So whether you're the team leader, you're an agent on a team, you need to be actively recruiting, for culture, obviously all those right fits, but you need to not shy away from it right now. You need to have the understanding that's not going to take away from you. Right now, I don't think we really need to buy more leads in general. I think buying more leads right now is a terrible move, but you probably have a giant database that can be fished through. And right now, your agents on your team that are living fairly comfortably probably are not spending their time in there. Mike, can you speak to like why, if you're an agent on a team, you shouldn't feel threatened by a team leader or the team recruiting at this time in the shifting market?
Yeah, I mean, for our team and others that we mastermind with, we have kind of a saying that everything is earned, nothing is given. And you can see that show up all over our business model and our culture. But new agents that come under our team, they don't just get leads. Like, they have to actually prove that they've got the skill set to earn those lead opportunities. So they have to first start fishing through our database. So they have access to our 70,000 person database. They can call those people and try to turn those into opportunities, which is a really good thing to do. They can cover open houses and generate leads off of that. They can call expireds. They can also tap into their sphere and get them to our client events, things like that. But in our world, they have to be closing 2 homes per quarter to actually earn the right to be in lead routing to get new leads. And they have to be closing even more than that to get ISA set appointments, which is like the place everyone wants to get to,
Sure, because those are sweet.
Yeah, but this is like, as a team leader, there's no cost to adding these people. Like, if you have the right systems and processes, you're talking about an added seat in your CRM. You're talking about one more CSU seat to track their analytics. You're not really talking about adding a lot of costs. But if you get one deal a month from these people and you hire 5 or 6 of them, that can significantly change your top end revenue. We can cut expenses, and we're going to talk about that here in just a second, but you need to also drive revenue at the top as well. It needs to be approaching it from both angles.
Let's talk about that right here. Ruthlessly cut what's not performing. Let's talk about cutting expenses a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, we had some hard conversations on the team this week. What I did is I took our expense report from QuickBooks and I looked at it. I broke it down. Like there's a report called expenses by vendor summary. So basically just breaks down your expenses by vendor. And I sat down with our operations team and I asked them to go through it with me item by item. And our team had spent $220,000 last month in just expenses, like everything from leads to salaries to office expenses, events, all these other things, right? And I asked everyone to identify 3 areas that they could cut and do without, or cut by at least 50% in their own department. So instead of me telling them what I thought we should cut, I wanted to hear from them on what they thought we could do without. And it was a very interesting experience. Like I thought they would be combative and not on board with trying to cut these expenses, but their eyes like bugged out of their head when they saw how much money had actually been invested over this period of time. They're like, there's so much fat here that we can cut to run a better business. And we walked out of that and we'd slashed out about $60,000 a month just in expenses. I agree with you, Austin. Like buying a bunch of new leads doesn't make a ton of sense, but leads are your life flow right now. So don't cut your leads either, unless you absolutely have to. Like hold on to your leads if you can. We spend about $46,000 a month between Zillow and Realtor.com, and then another $8,000 a month with pay-per-click, and that's what's going to feed our team. So I'm watching how those are converting. I'm making sure we're still getting appointments on those lead sources, but that is one thing I don't want to cut. The other thing I don't want to cut is salaries. I have a very talented, gifted team, people I love and adore that have been here for years. The last thing I want to do is let this get to a point where I have to cut a salary. That's not going to happen for us. Instead, that leaves us the third area of opportunity. That's the general expenses that I just talked about. That's office supplies. We made a joke about the croissants in the office. Like we're no longer spending $1,200 a month for people to have snacks here. They can bring their own snacks and just little things like that, that we're sharpening the pencil on, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and this is a really good thing for anybody on here to do, not just in your business, but also evaluate your home life. I mean, we just did this at home as well. And it ended up being like $450 a month of just junk that we didn't even use. And I know that doesn't seem like a massive amount, obviously, compared to our business expense of 60 grand. But if you're doing that at home as well, you're going to see some positive things. And on the lead flow, yeah, don't cut your leads. But I like what you said about tracking that, doing a doing a little 411 on your lead sources every month, because we're going to see changes in the amount of lead flow that comes through the market. Definitely, you can see Zillow increasing and Realtor.com dropping. You can see the exact opposite. So knowing where those are going, I think, is going to be super important. All right. All right. This is the one that I'm really excited to hit on, which is lead conversion. And it's just everybody getting back to what life was before we fell into that beautiful COVID market. Getting back on the phone, everyone doing their part. We've been really blessed to, I think, to not have to, especially having ISAs that are doing a lot right now. But in this change, like everybody has got to be moving the ball forward. Admin needs to convert referrals. I love that, because why would they not be? Like, it's too easy to do it. Having your agents focused on their sphere. I think a lot of agents have really neglected their sphere. I know I probably have a little more than I would have liked to. Past clients have been a lot better. But really everybody just needs to get back on the phone and be crushing it. So take a look here, obviously connect to people and move forward, guys. All right. So I see we got a few questions in the Q&A. If you have any, go ahead and pop them in there and we'll try to answer those now. So do you guys have any questions at all for us?
Someone had questions about their favorite books. I put up 7 of my favorites. Maybe you could add a few more to that.
Yeah. So right now I'm reading Rocket Fuel, which is a fantastic book on recruiting. Extreme Ownership is a really big one that I go back to quite a bit. Winning by Tim Grover is pretty much a life-changing book for me. Yeah. So if you don't have that one, you need both those. Winning and Relentless both are super, super, super huge. So I think getting in, and even just 10 pages a day, just reading a little bit will go a super, super long way, guys. So, all right, well, we got about 2 minutes left. So we're going to go ahead and sign off of here. Mike, thanks for popping on. We'll be having another one scheduled here shortly, and we'll send that all out to you guys.
Yep. If you guys have questions about any of this, feel free to reach out to us and I. We will send out a replay to everyone that registered on it. But if you do have questions, please definitely reach out and we will try to help you guys get through this. Okay.
Awesome. Later, guys.
All right. Bye.
Bye.